So we've just got into the section that will cover the aptitude test. So like we mentioned earlier, you've got the UCAT and the BMAT, and most universities, apart from Leeds, will ask for the UCAT. So so most dental schools will use the UCAT, and it's comprised of 5 sections. So you've got VR, QR, decision making, abstract reasoning, and situational judgment. The first four, sort of your results are collated, and you've got weighted questions that will give you an average score per section and then a total average. And that's where the 630, 640 number comes in every year of the national average. So you want to be hitting a total score of 630, 620 at least. If you've got something less than that or more, if you've got something more, then of course, great. If you've got something less, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't apply. It just means that you should, look into the national average of the current year, look at what students are getting, also email the universities you want to apply to directly and ask them, hey, I've got this score, will I still be considered for an application? And then finally, you have situational judgment that is its own separate entity. So it's the final section of the exam that has a band system. So you've got bands 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is the ethical side of the exam. So you need to learn about your medical ethics, your dental ethics, what's correct, what's incorrect, how you would manage certain scenarios, certain difficult scenarios, and you get a score overall. And I think band 1 is the top and band 4 is the lowest. So you want to be, of course, aiming for band 1 or 2. But in the past, a lot of students have gotten band 3s and have definitely secured offers. So don't worry too much about that. But yeah, that's sort of UCAT summarized. When it does come to sitting the exam, it's very hard for someone like me or Joanna to really give any advice about the UCAT because it is an aptitude test and there's not really a set concrete way of studying. You've just got to sit down, do some practice questions, and almost hope for the best. It's quite hard to say that because there's no certainty in that, but the way that aptitude tests work is that you will peak at a certain point and then start to decline. So the way that Medify and certain books such as Get into Medical School work is that they want you to study an hour or two a day for about 3 weeks or 4 weeks and then sit your exam and not leave it for too long because you will peak by then, and that's when you will be most prepared for an exam, and then sit your exam and hopefully you do well. But yeah, just getting into the study materials, we've got Medify, which is an online resource that I used. Joanna, did you use Medify?
I only use Medify, so.
Yeah, so Medify is really good because it mimics the actual exam. So it's on the computer, you buy a subscription. I think I paid £30 for 2 weeks or something like that.
I think the prices have increased, but I think they're roughly, so they should be under about £60 for a month or something like that. Like, I'm not too sure 100%, but they have changed. They do vary year to year, but roughly that, yeah.
Yeah, and I would advise only doing a month, nothing more. You don't need to waste or spend more money doing Medify. Just get it a month, for a month. It is August now, so if you haven't booked your exam or you have booked it and haven't got Medify, even doing it for a week or two is really beneficial, because it sort of helps you get into the setting of the exam and get used to using a computer or a laptop for QR, which is the maths, and using the calculator. All of that's really good. And then Get into Medical School is a book that I used, so it was really good for abstract reasoning and just doing extra situational judgment questions, just because ethics, you can always practice that and learn ethics. And I think that's the only part of the UCAT that you can actually revise for. So definitely, if you've got time and you've done Medify, try and buy the book or find the PDF online. I think you should be able to find it online. If not, we'll try linking it below, or after the seminar ends, if anyone's interested in getting the book. But yeah, it's definitely good to do. And then deadline, of course, is October 15th. But I'm sure you guys have either booked your exams or have already sat it. And then, yeah, we would advise to do it as soon as possible. I think, Joanna, you wanted to say something about September.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know if Rehan will agree with me, and I'm pretty sure that some of you might have heard this already, but so is this what you're talking about the cutoff point, about the mid kind of?
Yeah, when they release the average.
Yeah, so what happens is around September, mid-September, they release an average of like how the cohort is kind of doing. And I've noticed within sixth forms that a lot of people after those results were released had a significant decrease in their marks. And these are people that are very academically capable. And so a lot of people do say that the tests become harsher in their scoring after the averages come out. And so for that reason, I'd just say to stay on the safe side and try and get it done before those averages come out. There is no exact date, but I'd say mid to end September would be the rough estimate. But also one good thing is the earlier you get it done, the more time you have to think about what universities you want to apply to. And it's very, very tactical in terms of how you apply to these universities. If you really want to get into dentistry, if your your UCAT is very strong, there are specific universities that will take that on and be very, very interested in your high UCAT score. And there are some who aren't very interested. And so being able to tactically apply will really improve your chances of being able to get into dentistry.
Yeah, so I would say I've noticed this trend as well with the averages. But if you've booked your exam for late September, it's fine. As long as you do your prep, you should be fine either way. But if you haven't booked your exam, just try and book it as soon as you can. You've got a month from now till the averages do come out. So if you booked it today, you can get it in before the averages come out. I mean, both Joanna and I had to do UCAT twice because we reapplied. So we did it for 2 years. And I did it once late September and once in August, and I did perform better in August, but it was also my second time doing it. So there are a lot of factors with UCAT.
I mean, I got the same score twice, so exact same score twice, and exact same band, so.
Yeah, so I guess what we're trying to say is it's an aptitude test. There's not really anything set in stone. Just make sure you've got the baseline covered. So do your questions, spend at least 3 to 4 weeks doing an hour or two a day. But if you have any specific questions relating to UCAT, pop it onto the chat, and we'll try and answer it to the best of our capabilities. Yeah, should we just move on to BMAT? Very quickly, I'll just talk about this. Only Leeds asks for BMAT. If there's anyone that is coming from up north or is listening in from up north and you're considering Leeds, you will have to sit the BMAT. And it's more scientific. It's not very aptitude. It's very academic aptitude. So you'd have a section that covers sort of GCSE to mid-AS chemistry, biology, physics, and potentially maths. And then you have a section where I think you have to write an essay and a lot of logical based thinking and inquiry based learning. So if you are interested in sitting the BMAT, there are a lot of resources online that sort of cover that. Personally, both Joanna and I never had to sit the BMAT. We didn't consider Leeds, and if you're from London and you're looking at King's and Barts, you won't need to even think twice about BMAT, but it's just here just in case there are any students that are considering it. But we'll just move on from that unless there are anyone sort of chiming in interested in. But yeah, let's just move on from BMAT actually.